So in this screencast, what we're going to do is walk through the very basics of getting started with OpenTok. So we're going to create a very simple application that connects to an OpenTok session and then publishes and subscribes to video streams. And for this, we're going to use the JavaScript API. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here is I'm on the TalkBox documentation page, and we're going to go and get the JavaScript API. So I'm going to copy this code right here, which is going to import the TalkBox OpenTok library for our staging servers or for our sandbox development environment. So I'm going to grab that code and then paste it in my text editor here. And the next thing I'm going to do is just create another script tag where we can start doing some development into. So I'm going to close it off here, and then the first thing that we really need to do is initialize a couple of variables. So the first thing that we need to do is set our API key. Okay, and I know my API key is 1127. If you're developing on your own, you're going to want to get your own API key, and so you can do on our web page here. You're just going to enter your name and email address, check this off, and then it will email you your API key. I'm just going to use 1127 for now, but be sure to get your own. So we have our API key. The next thing that we're going to do is initialize a session ID. Okay, so a session ID is essentially synonymous with a chat room. Okay, so a session is what all clients connect to. Okay, and so typically the way this would work is you would generate a session ID on your server using this create session method and then pass it down to your client. Okay, and we have libraries for Java, PHP, Python, and Ruby, and then we also have some community supported modules for .NET, Node.js, and Perl. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial is just pre-generate a static session ID instead of using my server. Okay, so in our staging environment, we allow you to do this, and so this just allows you to kind of accelerate your development so that you can just use static session IDs. But again, in a production environment, you would definitely want to be generating this on your server. Okay, so on this page, what I did was just generate a session. You can pass it particular parameters. I'm just going to go with the default stuff, and then copy this session ID down for now. So I'm going to go back into my application here, and I am going to paste that session ID, and then I'm going to be all set there. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is get a token. Okay, and again, we're in our sandbox staging environment here, and I'm just going to use the special token, the dev token. Okay, since we're in the staging environment here, we can do this. But if you were in a production environment, again, you would want to generate this token on your server using one of the server-side libraries. Okay. And so what a token does is it determines what privileges that this particular client has. Okay, so when you're generating a token, you would pass it a particular role. So you would pass it either a subscriber role, meaning that client can only connect and subscribe to other video streams, a publisher role where that client can subscribe and publish, or a moderator role where they can subscribe, publish, and also make other clients unpublish and other clients disconnect from a session. So I'm just going to use this dev token for now just to kind of accelerate development. Okay, so once I have my three main variables set, the next thing I'm going to do is initialize a session using the JavaScript library here. So I'm going to call session equals tb.init session and pass it a session ID. Okay, and if we look in the documentation page here, we can see how this works. So we're in the TB object, and we're calling init session. Okay, and that's going to initialize a session. So a session, like I said, is what all clients connect to, and what pretty much all the publish and subscribe events are going to emit from. So we have our session initialized. The next thing that we want to do is try to connect to that session. Okay, so we're going to call session.connect and pass it our API key and our token. Okay, so this is going to try to connect to the session. Before we do anything else, however, what we want to do is set up an event listener. Okay, so everything with OpenTok is pretty much event driven. Okay, so we're going to try to connect to the session, but we need to define a callback to do something once the session is connected. So what we're going to do is call session.add event listener, and the event that we want to listen for is the session connected. event. And I'm just going to pass the name of a function that I'm going to define in a second, connected handler. And then down here, I'm going to define that function. Function session connected handler. And that's going to get past a session connected event. And then all I want to do here for now is just alert myself that I'm connected. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go back into my browser here. And so this is my page that I'm loading up, and I'm going to try reloading this, and it's going to say, hi, I'm connected. Great. So the next thing that I want to do then when I'm connected to the session is I want to publish my stream to the session. Okay, so this is just what I want to do in my particular application. You don't necessarily have to have the same workflow, but this is what my application is going to do. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is define a div where my video stream is going to show up. So I'm going to call it div id equals my publisher. Okay, and then close off that div. Okay, and then so in order to publish a session, it's really simple. So all we're going to call is session.publish, and we're going to pass it the name of the div where we want our stream to be published to. So I'm going to just pass it my publisher. Okay. So we're going to go back in the browser here and refresh, and we should see a pop-up here that's going to attempt to connect to our session and then ask to publish. And so now it's asking for permission to my camera, which is publishing correctly, and then we're going to see myself here. Great. So now we're going to go back into the code here, and one more helpful thing before I go any further is it's sometimes nice to see logs of exactly what is happening so that we're not kind of just lost in development. So what I'm going to do here is do tb.setLogLevel and then do tb.debug. Okay, so what this is going to give us is helpful messages in the console that will kind of show us what's happening. So if I open up here my console in Chrome and then refresh this, we'll see all these debug messages here. Okay, so we can see all the events that are getting called. We see the connection, it's checking the system requirements, and then it's telling us that it's connected, and then it's saying this is my call that I made to the publisher. Okay? Great. So the next thing that I want to do, just in my particular application here, is set up a way to subscribe to streams that are going on in the session. So I'm going to write a function called subscribe to stream, and then pass it a stream. Okay? So what I want to do in this function is first just create a div to put the stream into, and then actually call session.subscribe and actually subscribe to it. So I'm going to do div equals document.createElement, and we're going to create a div. Okay. Next thing I want to do with this div is give it an ID so we can refer to it. So we're going to do div.setAttribute, and we want to set the ID attribute. And I'm going to give it a name of stream dash, and then each stream has a stream ID associated with it. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a unique name that is stream dash, and then the ID of the stream. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is actually put this div in the DOM. So we're going to do document.body.append child div. Okay, so now we actually have the div in the DOM anytime this function gets called. Okay, and the last thing that we need to do to actually subscribe to this stream is really simple. We're just going to call session.subscribe and then pass it the stream and then the ID of the div that we want to put it into. Okay, so I'm just going to pass it the new div that we create here. Okay, so this function is going to subscribe to any new stream. Okay, so there's two places where I want this function to get called at. Okay, so first, whenever I connect to the session, there is within this event parameter that we get, there is event.streams. Okay, and this is an array of streams that are already in the session then when we connect to the session. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is loop through that array of streams. So for var I equals 0, I less than event.streams.length, and then iterate through them. Okay, and so before I call subscribe to streams, what I want to do here is make sure that I don't subscribe to myself. Okay, so I'm going to do this. So I'm going to say if session.connection.connection ID does not equal streams i.connection.connection ID. Okay, so what I'm doing here is every session you have a connection to it, okay? And so I'm checking to make sure that the connection that I have does not match the connection of the stream that was created. So again, every session has a connection associated with it, and then every stream also has a connection associated with it. Okay, so I am checking to make sure that my connection ID does not match the connection ID of the newly created stream. Okay, the purpose of this is because I don't want to subscribe to myself, because I can already see myself. Okay, so if that is the case, then I'm going to call subscribe to stream and pass it the actual stream. Okay, so great. So when I connect to the session, then it's going to run through this array of streams and subscribe to every stream that is not my own stream. Okay, but there's one more place where I want to call this function and do this. Okay, so this is great for when I connect to the session and subscribe to existing streams, but what about when new streams are created? Okay, so that's going to happen with another callback event here. Okay, so the stream created event, this is going to get called anytime a new stream is created. So I'm going to create another function that handles this event. So we're going to call it the stream created handler, and then we'll make another function down here to handle that. And this is going to work pretty much the same way. Okay, so we're going to get again that event.streams array, and then we're going to just do the same loop and subscribe to all the streams that are not our own. Okay, so now let's actually go into the browser here and reload this page. And we see the publisher widget is going to pop up again, and we hit allow, and okay, so we see me again. Great, but this doesn't look any different than we had before. So that's because there's no other streams going on in it yet. Okay, so now if I open this page up in another tab, and if I do the same thing, we'll see that I already am publishing from this other tab here. Okay, and so we subscribe to myself from the other tab. Now if I publish from this tab as well, we're going to see myself pop up in the initial window too. Okay, now it's a little confusing because we're seeing myself twice, but this is only because I have two browsers open. Okay. So this has been Getting Started with OpenTok JavaScript API. What we did was connect to a session and do the very basics of publishing and subscribing to streams. We have on our website tutorials for doing more advanced stuff like controlling the audio, moderation signaling, resizing, and all sorts of customizable stuff. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you have more questions, you can post them on our forums or go to our IRC office hours on our website. So thanks for listening. Hopefully this was helpful.